Okay, so that is now 11:30. So we will make a start. Those of you who have joined these webinars before will know that we get a prompt start because everyone's going to get the recording anyway. So even those people who join a bit late will get that recording and they'll be able to see what they've missed. So the webinars, again, those of you who joined or watched before, these are designed to be short bits of information that can help you run your ClubV1 system more effectively. I try and limit them towards 25 minutes, half an hour, but we can just overrun depending on how many questions there are through the event. So let's get started. And what I want to cover today is why should you send your communications through ClubV1? I want to go through the different forms of communications available within ClubV1, individual emails versus individualized emails. So what's the difference there? Communication through the ClubV1 T-sheet if you're using the ClubV1 T-sheet, and then a question and answer session at the end. This shouldn't take more than half an hour, so thank you for joining, and I won't take up too much of your time. If you have any questions, please do ask them as we go, but I will come to them all at the end. I won't be answering questions throughout the webinar this morning. Okay, so why should you send your communications through ClubV1? First of all, emails come from your golf club, okay? With your club logo, they don't just say ClubV1 on them, okay? So I know with other email providers, it would just say their name rather than Berg Golf Club, for example, okay? So you can also track how many emails are delivered and opened and how many times they're opened. So that's particularly useful during subs time, maybe, when members say, oh, no, I didn't receive my bill. And you can go into the history and you can say, you did receive your bill and you opened it 6 times. Okay, so that's really useful as well. You can set a different reply to address for different emails. So rather than having one place where emails come back to, you can set a different reply to address depending on the content of that email. So if it's competition orientated, you might get it to go to your competition chairman. If it's bill related, it might go to your general manager or your treasurer or whoever that may be. Okay. All emails can be individualized with personal information. Okay, so you can pull in whatever information you've got within the system for your members and pull it into the emails individually. Okay, those of you who joined the Fields and Markers webinar last week will know that you'll be able to pull them in as well. So you've got that information stored as well. You can add attachments. You can add as many attachments as you like, and you can send them out via email as well. You can use your filters to reach a specific audience. So if you need to send it to just your senior golfers or just your lady golfers or just your junior golfers, you can do that. You can also do it by handicap or by a really useful one, which we'll look at, is that you can send an email to anyone who has an overdrawn balance on their account. And you can just send that email to anyone who has an overdrawn balance. And then, as we've touched on up here, you can keep a history of your mailings within ClubV1. So if it's something that you send out every year, so maybe an invitation to a dinner or the AGM or whatever it may be, the history of that will be in your ClubV1, and you can just go back to it and see what did we send out last year. Okay. So what are the different forms of communication available in ClubV1? So depending on which level of ClubV1 you will have different communications available. So the first one there is app notifications. Now, what I should have done in this is I should have had a link through to my ClubV1. So just bear with me for 1 second while I go into my ClubV1. And we will look at each of these form of communications individually. Okay. So we jump back in. We're going to look at app notifications first. This is for ClubV1 Premium and ClubV1 Ultimate clubs only. So obviously, if you're not on Premium or Ultimate, you don't have the app at the moment, so you can't send notifications out. So to send a notification, we go into communications there. We go to app notifications, and we can see here we can compose a new app notification, or we can look at our history of app notifications. If I go to compose, I can then send it out and I can say last few tickets remaining for next week's St. Andrew's dinner. Okay, we can then filter that whether we want to send it to gents and ladies, or just gents or just ladies. At my club, the St. Andrew's dinner is for men only, so I'm just going to use men. And then the target URL. So if you wanted someone to go onto a web page, so maybe you're pushing your open events, for example, you can put the URL in there, and that will then push them across to your open events page. So I click confirm on that. It makes me review what it's saying, and then I click submit, and that will now send a notification through the system, and it's just come through on my watch already. Okay, so if we then refresh that, we can see in here that it's been successfully delivered to 7 people. It hasn't failed to anyone, and no one's actually clicked on it yet to convert it. Okay, so that's really useful with your app notifications as well, so you can see if things aren't working properly. Okay, so that's app notifications within the system. Again, that is for just premium and ultimate clubs only. Club news. So you can send out club news through the system. This is communicating with your members through the club news section. So that would be in the members hub or in How Did I Do? And all ClubV1 product levels can use club news. So for that, we go again into communications. We go to club news here, and we can add an item. Okay, so I've got one here, Berg Golf Club wins Club of the Year, and I can edit that, and I can say what the content is. So we've got a little summary there. We're delighted to inform members that we've been voted Club of the Year, etc., etc. We can add a link if we want to link it to somewhere. We then continue through, and we can select an image if we want to. We then continue through there. And we set now when this is visible from and when it's visible to. So if this is a time critical sort of latest news, we can say that this news does expire. So we can set it here to never expire. But I can then change that it's visible from, in this case, it's the 4th of August last year. I had it set to never expire, but I could now have this to expire on the 31st of December. Okay. Is this a members only event? No, we can display that on How Did I Do? Do we want to set this to never expire? Well, no, we don't on this one. And do we want to mark this as a diary event? So if we were sending news out regarding a dinner, we could make it a diary event as well. Okay, continue through there. That then just confirms what we've done, and we click save. Okay, so that will now be on my How Did I Do page. It will be in my ClubV1 members hub if you have that, and it will be visible at the moment, and then on the 31st of December it will cease being visible, so it'll just disappear on its own. You don't need to take that away. You don't need to delete it in here if you don't want to. Okay, so that is your club news. Emails, I'm sure most of you are using emails. Everyone, all users of ClubV1 can use emails with the exception of ClubV1 entry. Okay, and you can send individual or mass emails. So what we can do, if I go into my user profile here, I can go to mailing at the top here. Okay, and this is going to send an email purely to me. Okay, so I can put in whatever subject I want. It might be your buggy insurance, for example. And then we can have that reply into gm@berggolfclub.com. And then we can say, you know, dear, and we can insert data if we want in here. So I could put dear forenames. It would have been much easier in this case if I just typed dear Matt. It has come to our attention that your insurance policy on your buggy is due to expire today. Please could you send us an updated insurance policy? Okay, that kind of thing if you joined one of the previous webinars, you will have seen that you can store that in your document store, in your personal document store, okay, the insurance policy. So that would then, we'd finish that email, we'd send that off, we'd continue. We can add any attachments, so we could add their insurance policy if we wanted to. We are deciding who that's for. This is an individual email, so it's just going to me. Continue through there. It's going to show me what it looks like. Continue through there, and then we set whether we want to print this or email it. We're going to email it. The letter layout isn't important. If it was printing, then the letter layout would be important. Do we want to show the category on there? Again, not important when we're emailing. Show record number, not important when we're emailing. Use own letterhead, not important when we're emailing. We then just click send, and that will now send me an email, and then I can track on here whether it's been delivered, whether it's been opened, whether it's been read, etc., etc. Okay, so that then stores in my history here. So if I just refresh that, that may take a little bit of time to send, because we're sending emails out for every single golf club all at the same time. So it might not go instantly, but it will take a few minutes maybe. Okay, so that is sending an individual email. However, what you can also do, and I know a lot of golf clubs will know this, is you can send individualized emails. So what that is, if we go back to mailing, add a mailing, and this might be something along the lines of your balance is overdrawn. Okay, so what this allows us to do, and we'll again get that to go back to gm@berggolfclub.com. What we can do in here is we can say, dear forenames. So we're going to send this out now to a number of people within the club. So that will then input their personal forename in this case. Okay. And then we can say, following this week's competition, your competition balance is now overdrawn. Please ensure that this is topped up before next week's competition. Okay, your balance is currently, and then we can insert data and go to EPOS Pro Shop. Okay, so that is going to input my personal balance in this email, whereas if I'm sending this for 20 members, it will then put their individual balance in. So you don't have to send 20 different emails. Okay, so we'd finish that off with kind regards, whatever we needed to do. Continue through there. We can add attachments if we want to. In this case, we wouldn't. Continue through there. And now we choose who this is going to go to. So all we would do is add a field, find EPOS Pro Shop, and then we'd set our range of -99 maybe to minus a penny. Oops, minus a penny. We click apply, and that's brought up 4 people in my club. Okay, so this email is now going to go to those 4 people. It's going to say, dear Carl, dear Alex, dear Oliver, dear James. Okay, and then it's going to have their personal balances in there as well. Continue through there. That's what the email looks like. Continue through there, and we can now choose to print all if we want to send it as letters, which we wouldn't do. Print only if we only want to print it to people who don't have a valid email address. Email print allows us to email to everyone we have an email address for and print for everyone we don't. Or email only, that will email everyone we have an email address for and discard everyone we don't have an email address for. Most golf clubs now have an email address for pretty much all of their members, particularly your golfing members. So in this case, email only would be absolutely fine. Again, these down here, we don't need to worry too much about because we're sending emails, not letters. Okay, we can then click send, and that would then send that balance out to our members. Okay, So that's how we send out individual emails and how we send out individualized emails. I hope that makes sense. As I've mentioned, we can go into here, we can go to mailing, and we can see exactly what that email was, and we can check that. So if we needed to send that out again next week, we can just copy and paste it. However, one thing that the system does, we had a subject there of your balance is overdrawn. What the system does is if I come back in here and type in your balance is overdrawn, it will pick up the email that I've sent previously. Click in that, and we can now resend that same email without having to retype it all out or copy and paste. Okay, so the system will store all of your emails by subject, and it will give you the date that that was sent. So I've got test. I can see all the different test emails that I've sent out with test in the subject. Okay, so that's individual and individualized emails. Newsletters. So newsletters are a really fun one within ClubV1. You have two different options for newsletters. So we go to communications, we go newsletters. When we add a newsletter, you get the option of whether you use custom HTML or templated newsletters. So if I put in test in here, the newsletter date is today, and I go templated, that is then going to open up a new templated email where I can then add a news article, add a custom article, whatever I want to do. A news article is going to pull it from our latest news. Our custom article is going to allow us to type that out. We have different templates here that we can use, and we can look at them, and we can choose which one we want to use. If I'm completely honest, I think our templated newsletters are quite poor. They're quite boring. They're very limited to what they can do. So what we generally as a business encourage clubs to do is set up an account with something like MailChimp, and you can create your own newsletter within MailChimp completely how you want it to look. What you can then do is you can export that as HTML, select custom HTML here, and paste that HTML code into here. What that then does is totally recreates that email that you've set up in MailChimp, but you're going to send it to ClubV1 so that you're not managing two different databases. But what that does is if I go to this one, this was created on MailChimp. Okay, so it's a lot prettier, it's a lot more flexible, we can do what we want with it, and that's the way that I would encourage you as a golf club to use newsletters if you were going to send them out from here. It's a really useful way of sending them out, and you can then see all of those newsletters that you've sent out on there. Okay, and that's as simple as it is for newsletters through the system. SMS, you can send SMS messages, so text messages through the system. They do come at an additional cost, and that is available to all ClubV1 levels other than ClubV1 entry. So if you want to send text messages to your members, again, we go into communications, we go to SMS, and this would then allow you to purchase credits. So you'd add credits, and there is the costs there. So it's £80 for 1,000 text messages, so 8p per text. It's not cheap. We know it's not cheap, but it gives you another option to do that through. Okay, so you would then set that up. If you then have credit, you can send an SMS, and it's literally just a case of typing in the body of the email what you need to do, what you want to put in with that. So if we put, this is a test, I then continue through here. I can select again who I want to send that to. Okay, and it will use their mobile number. So I can add a field, and I want to send this to everyone with a handicap index of 9.9 or below. Okay, so that brings up 43 people. So this is going to charge me 43 times 8 pence. if we have mobile numbers. Now you can see there that mine are all demo people, so most of them do not have mobile numbers in the system, so it wouldn't charge me for those people. I'd continue through there, and then we would then send that text message and it would send out of there. This is saying I do not have enough credits, because I don't, and I would need to top up to then add those text messages in. Mine's not set up properly, which is why I've just got an error there. Okay, and that's text messages. So if you want any more information on that, please do let me know, and we can talk about that. There aren't many clubs that use text messages within the system, but if you think it could be useful for you, let us know and we can go through that. Email via the ClubV1 T-sheet. So this is for those of you who use the ClubV1 T-sheet. So to do that, you'd need to be on ClubV1 Premium or ClubV1 Ultimate. What we then do is we go into our T-sheet, and up at the top here, we have email. Now, what this allows us to do is we're on today. So we can now email everyone who has a tea booking between 7:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. But we might just want to choose anyone who has a tea booking in the morning. And the reason for that is urgent greens works. And then due to unforeseen circumstances, the greenkeepers will be out on the course today, and the third and fourth holes will be closed, whatever we want to put in there. But it's only going to be closed until sort of just after midday. So we want to make sure that only those people are told that the third and fourth hole will be closed. We then get the option of whether we want to just send that to members, like that, just send it to visitors and our societies maybe, or any combination of the above. Okay, so we can just send to whoever we need to send it to that's booked in. I haven't got anyone actually booked in on my demo system today, so it's saying at the bottom here there are no players with an email address set for this day between those times. Okay, so that's not going to send to anyone, but that is a nice way of communicating with your golfers, and you can do that as far ahead in advance as you like. So if I go to calendar and go to the 28th of November, it might be that we've got people booked in on here, for example, but there's a shotgun start. We can then just click email and we can say, please be aware there's a shotgun start at 1 o'clock. Obviously, 28th of November, that's probably unlikely, but might be something we'd use more in the summer. So please, can you make sure that you're off the course by 1 o'clock? Okay, so that's communicating through the T-sheet. And the final thing I need to show you today is through your team manager. So all ClubV1 product levels can use team manager for communications. And what that means is when we go into golf and team manager, we can set up all of our individual teams in here. Okay, so our Colts team, we can create our squad, which I've done here. And from our dashboard, we can now email our squad. Okay, so we put in 2026 fixtures, reply to competition sec@berggolfclub.com, and then in here we could put the 2026 fixtures are now live on ClubV1. Please can you go in and give your availability for next year's matches? Okay, or if you don't want to be considered for next year's matches, please let us know and we can remove you from the squad. We can add attachments to that if we need to. So if we were sending out maybe an email closer to the time and we wanted to attach a food menu, we could do that. That would then send to those people in our squad. When we then have fixtures set up, if I just add a quick fixture in here and I put Caldy Golf Club in there, test, and I'll set that up just as that, and we'll have it at Berg Golf Club. Confirm through there. So I can now pick my match team. Okay, so I can pick. Okay, they are now in my team, those 7 players. Confirm. What I can now do is just email the match team. So that will now just go out to those 7 players. Okay, so again, we put our subject in, our reply to address, and the body of our email. Okay, and that is how we would send communications out from Team Manager. So that is everything I want to show you today. I have done that in sort of 25 minutes. So we have already been through the individual versus individualized emails, but just to confirm, individual emails can be sent directly from the member profile, one by one, with personal information. Individualized emails can be sent to all members or a group of members, but made to look as though it was sent just to an individual member with personal information, cutting down on admin time. Those emails are all stored in the communication history for you to come back to at a later date if required. We've been through that as well, communication through the ClubV1 T-sheet. So if you're using the ClubV1 T-sheet, you can contact all your golfers or a selection of golfers booked in on a particular day. You can choose to include the time range, as we saw, and then whether members, visitors, or societies, or any combination of three receive that email. This is great for informing golfers of any greens work expected on the course or disruption to their experience, maybe kitchen closures, etc.